And good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12-Ounce Sports platform and networks. We are live on our Twitter feed, YouTube channel, of course, and Facebook Live, and also on Zingo TV channel 761. And you can catch a replay of our show here tonight on our website, which is CaptainLou.net. Hey, welcome aboard, everybody. We're going to be live until 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight here with the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We've got a great show planned for you tonight. Guests include, at the bottom of the first hour, we're going to be joined by Marcus Grosnick, an old friend of the show. We've worked with him on many ACHA broadcasts back in the day. Also, he's one of our NHL insiders, if you will. We're also going to talk to him tonight about the PGA Championship. He's a big golf nut aficionado, and what a hell of a run by the old man, Phil Mickelson. And we're going to talk a lot about that. Congratulations to Lefty. 51 years old he's going to be next month, so technically only 50. The oldest winner of a major in PGA history. And he won it. He played the way Lefty plays. He takes his chances, but he also played very well in the clutch when he had to. And what a scene coming up 18 after that approach shot to the green. The crowd behind him, man, I still get chills thinking about that. That was so cool. So great to have the fans be able to be back there and watching it. It was almost a little scary how he got engulfed after that shot, but it still was fun. So we're going to talk to Marcus about that, as well as he's now with the Chicago Cougars of the USHL. So we'll see what's new in his world with that. So lots to talk about hockey-wise, the NHL playoffs with Marcus. Couple of early exits. The Winnipeg Jets made quick work of the Edmonton Oilers. The last three games though went in overtime, including last night's triple overtime thriller. So it can't really blame. I mean, you can blame them, but it just. I kind of feel bad a little bit for Edmonton because those games were so close. But you got to walk before you can run. And Edmonton's weaknesses surely got exposed in that four-game sweep. So we'll talk more about that. We'll run down all the NHL playoffs going on right now. Tonight, as we speak, Game 4 between Montreal and Toronto. The Toronto Maple Leafs have a 2-1 lead, or a 2-1 lead in that, as they look to really put a solid footing in that series, if you will, as they're no score, though, towards the latter stages of the opening period. Coming up at the bottom of the second hour, pleased to be joined by the host of Mike Said It First here on the network. You can catch his show Wednesday afternoons at 12:30. He's our resident NBA expert here on the network, and Mike Carvelis or Carvelis rather. I always butchers Mike. I'm sorry. He's going to join us at 12:30. We're going to talk NBA with him. We'll also pick his brain a little bit, since he's down in that area, what he thinks of the Julio Jones situation. And he was on a live mic the other day, and it could be a little hot water for Fox Sports. I doubt it. I don't think he's really that kind of guy. Shannon Sharp, of course, got away with it, but you're supposed to let him know when you've got him live on the air, unless it was staged, which I wouldn't put it past Fox. But anyways, we're going to talk to him about Julio Jones as well, as the NBA playoffs are in high gear right now. The opening round, the play-in games are over. By now, Golden State lost to Memphis. So Memphis was the technically 8th seed, although I think they were the 9th, or they might have been even a 10 seed for all I know. But they are in, and they took care of Utah in Game 1. Not only did they qualify, but they're going to give Utah a little bit of a scare. Still not too worried about that. So we'll talk more about that throughout the night. So a lot to go over here on the network. Again, we want to welcome the newest sponsor to the Captain Lou Extravaganza, Manscaped.com. Guys, I'm on a campaign. We're not calling them our junk anymore. We want them to be fellas to be proud of. So you want to get them all manicured up. You want to get them looking good. You want to get them smelling good. Manscaped.com has got everything you need for that and more. Go on their website, manscaped.com. Check out everything they've got. And when you get ready to order or place your order, go to the promo code and use the code CAPTAIN, and you'll get 20% off your purchase. It's that easy. So go to manscaped.com and use the promo code CAPTAIN for your discount. And we welcome them aboard here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Well, I heard some news a few hours ago before I came on the show tonight. Was looking for something to lead off here, and, I found it. I heard I'd say it's about 5 o'clock, that the Detroit Lions are, in my opinion, caving in, and they're going to pay Calvin the rest of his signing bonus. Now, this has been a particularly hot spot, or a sore spot, if you will, with the Lions and Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson retired a few years ago. He just had enough with the direction of the organization. He was banged up. And hey, I don't have an issue with the guy retiring. And I've said it all along. That's his right. He doesn't want to play. He doesn't have to play. It's a lot like Barry Sanders back in 1999 when Sanders retired. I had a little more of an issue with Barry Sanders, the way he retired. The way he did it was he left the Lions high and dry 2 days before training camp. Now, Detroit had not a hell of a run by their standards. It was a hell of a run. They made the playoffs a half a dozen times in the 90s, which is more than what they can say in any other decade. But the way that Sanders left was, I thought, Bush League. And he set the Lions back a little bit. They had no time to really react on it. I understand he didn't get along with Bobby Ross, and I think Bobby Ross helped set the Lions back even further between him and Matt Millen and some of the coaches he hired. And with Bobby Ross, I can go on and on about that. But the task at hand here is Calvin Johnson. Now, we all know that the Lions want him back in the fold. They think he could be great for the community, great for the Lions, just help him out. They want the goodwill in their eyes by paying him that. Well, my issue is that Calvin Johnson retired. He knew what he was getting himself into when he signed the contract with the Lions. Now, the Lions, as we said, I love the Lions. I bleed Honolulu blue. You know that. I've said it a million times on here. And I respect Calvin Johnson for his talent. Did it get wasted? Probably. He didn't have to sign that last contract. And he didn't have to retire. He chose to retire. From a business standpoint, I don't think the Lions owed him a penny. The way it was handled PR-wise on both sides was horrible. Calvin Johnson is not without blame in this. He whined, he bitched, he went to the media. He made it perfectly clear how he felt. He went out of his way to torment the Lions and to make them look bad. Now, was some of it warranted? I don't know. But it all boils down to this. He retired on his own free will. And when you retire, you don't get all your bonus. You don't get all your salary. No, and I know my position where I work in my normal job or my day job is a little different. But let's just say that when our contract is up with the union that I work at and we bargain for a new one, let's just say it's for guaranteed money for 5 years or 4 years. Now, I'll be 60 years old when I sign that next contract, and I know that I won't be working that whole 4 years. I hope not. But let's just say that I signed it and told them that, yeah, I'll be there 4 years. Guaranteed money. They guaranteed me money. Well, after the first year, I said, you know what? I'm done. I can't do it no more. I just physically can't do it, or I've just had enough. You think they're going to want their money back? Damn right they're going to want their money back. Only in pro sports can you get away with this. And Calvin Johnson retired. He does not deserve to get that money back. I'm sorry. I don't like it. I think the Lions caved. Are they trying to save face a little bit? Oh, in a lot of ways, in a lot of people's eyes, it's too late. They already lost face with Calvin Johnson. Okay, if that's the case, then why are they bowing down to him now? The Lions are reaching. They're looking for any kind of advantage to get right now. They've been a franchise that has been a laughingstock of the NFL now for 64 years? And to me, this doesn't help. I'm sorry. I don't buy it. He retired. He knew what he was getting into when he signed this contract, and he didn't want to live up to it. He got paid handsomely for what he got. So I don't think he's owed that bonus money. They're going to pay it. And I know the Fords are worth billions. It's a drop in the bucket. $1 million is a drop in the bucket to them. I get it, but it's the principle of it. And all of a sudden they changed their mind because they thought it was the right thing to do. I don't know. I just don't like the way Calvin Johnson handled himself, the way he whined and bitched about it out in the open. Was he provoked by the media to do it? Probably. You know how the media is now. And, I consider myself a part-time part of it, and I'm ashamed at some of the stuff that goes on. But I don't like it. I think Calvin Johnson, again, he knew what he was getting himself into when he signed that contract with the Lions. He got paid top money at the time. And he got the sign-on bonus. He got the signing bonus, whatever. But he retired. And I just think the Lions want to look good because Calvin's going in the Hall of Fame. They want to be on solid terms. That's the only reason why the Lions did it. If this wasn't a Hall of Fame year, I don't think they would have done it. So I think both are at fault. I think the Lions caved. Calvin Johnson, he kicked, he pouted, he got what he wanted. Now let's see if he makes good when he says he's going to make an effort to try to patch things up with the Lions in his eyes. I think the Lions have done everything they need to do and then some. So I don't buy it. I don't like how the Lions caved. But, that's just one person's opinion. And I know it's probably going to go over like a lead balloon, I'm sure. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about, we're going to keep it with the NFL. I know we've got the NBA and the NHL. We're going to get to those at the bottom of the hour. The tournaments are in full swing. Stanley Cup playoffs are in full swing. The NBA playoffs, opening round, some surprises in them so far. We're going to talk at length in the second hour about the NBA. Do I think the Lakers are in trouble? The Clippers, I don't understand the Clippers at all. The Knicks, great story there. Heartbreaking loss. I know Steve Finnemore just had to be just heartbroken after that Game 1 loss. But we'll talk about the NBA more in the second hour. But when we come back, I want to stick with the NFL. I want to take a look at some quarterbacks that really are now, it's put up or shut up. There's no more excuses. We're going to do that. First, again, a word from Manscaped.com, one of our sponsors here on the network. Fellas, it's not the junk anymore. They say you get kicked in the junk. No, it's the fellas or the twins or whatever. But I'm on a crusade. We want to make sure that it doesn't, to you, feel like junk. We want you to get the twins, make them proud of you, something to be proud of. Go to Manscaped.com. They've got everything. They've got the trimmers. They've got the deodorant for down there. They're gonna be walking tall right with you. Go to Manscaped.com. Hit the promo code CAPTAIN, and you'll get your discount. It's as simple as that. Manscaped.com. We'll be right back. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live on the 12-ounce sports platform and networks, including Zingo TV, channel 761.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza Live here on the 12-Ounce Sports Network and Zingo TV channel 761. Again, you can see a taped version of our show live on taped show live. That's a good one. You can see a replay of the show on our website, which is captainlou.net. Hey, reminder before we get going again, I want to reiterate, check out mybookie.ag. Great site to bet a couple of shackles if you're interested in betting on the Stanley Cup playoffs. Hey, but also, I want to promote one of our shows here on the network, Pete's Power Plays. The man is on fire. Check him out with his predictions for all the Stanley Cup games. You find a couple that you might want to bet on, go to mybookie.ag. And also, this reminder that for those of you using it for the first time, your first deposit, if you use the promo code 12-ounce sports, all one word, use that promo code, and your first deposit will be matched 100% up to $1,000. That's a no-brainer. It's free money. I've done it. I've used it. And, I cashed in on a bet over the weekend, a nice one. I had Phil Mickelson plus 1,200 teeing off on Saturday. Cha-ching. Had a couple of bets with Ricky Fowler over Jordan Spieth. It was crazy. I think it was plus 425 for Ricky Fowler to win the fourth hole over Jordan Spieth. Boom. It was that simple. It was a great Sunday for Phil Mickelson and the captain at the winner's circle and at the window, baby, betting on the PGA Championship. So, again, go to mybookie.ag. A big promote, we're their sponsor here, the network, but very safe. And you can also, if you don't want to play, if you don't want to bet on sports or bet the ponies or whatever, you can play table games. Pai Gow is the game of choice for me. I love playing that game. And so check them out. That's mybookie.ag. Use the promo code 12-ounce sports, and your first deposit is matched 100% up to $1,000. Free money. Who wouldn't want free money? That's just the way it goes. Bottom of the hour coming up, we're going to have Marcus Grosnick joining us here on the show. He's been a past guest. We're going to talk NHL with him, the PGA Championship with him. We'll go over our woes of the Red Wings and the Blackhawks, both our teams not even getting a smell in the playoffs. We're going to talk again, as I mentioned, the PGA Championship. He's also connected with the Chicago Cougars of the USHL, I believe. So we're going to talk to him about that. Should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to talking to Marcus. And then at the bottom of the second hour, should be a fun time with conversation with Mike Carvelis of Mike Said It First here from 12-Ounce Sports, as we'll talk NBA with him. I teased this before we went to break when it comes to the NFL. I've been listening to a lot about Aaron Rodgers, and the latest, he was on with Kenny Mayne. He pretty much wants Mark Murphy out. He wants Gutekunst out. He thinks there's no direction. He hasn't been pampered enough. He hasn't been taken care of enough like Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and, why do I always forget his name? The quarterback of Seattle, Russell Wilson. He thinks he should be taken care of like them. Well, I got to tell you, I hear the argument. Should they have drafted better? Probably. But, it works both ways. He doesn't quash the rumors about him being traded or wanting out. He's feeling the fire. He fanned the fire with that interview with Kenny Mayne. Loved the ending of it. I wish we could play a tape of it where Kenny Mayne told him, dropped the F-bomb with him. That was hilarious. It was all in fun, but still it was awesome. Kenny Mayne's last interview with ESPN. But it begs me to differ. It begs me to put him on this list. Should Aaron Rodgers get traded, to the, Denver Broncos, Washington, Raiders, whoever, he would join the list that I have of three quarterbacks that would make it four. Of quarterbacks that there's no more excuses. This kind of set a nerve with me this afternoon. I don't know why I let this guy. Colin Cowherd has got a man crush and is in love with Sam Darnold. I just don't get it. Sam Darnold, yeah, he's been sick. He hasn't had a lot to work with in New York, but he was anointed the second coming pretty much of Joe Namath in New York when he was drafted. Now, I watched him his senior year at USC. He was good. I didn't think it was great. He made a lot of questionable decisions in big games his last year. Well, there's no more excuses for Sam Darnold. It's put up or shut up time with the Carolina Panthers. He's got Christian McCaffrey. He's got all kinds of wideouts there. He's got talent. Chuba Howard's going there. So he's got a backfield behind him. They went out and got some blocking for him. There's no more excuses for Sam Darnold. It's put up or shut up time. Same with Carson Wentz. We're going to talk to Mike Carvelis about this. He's a big Indianapolis Colts guy. Carson Wentz was on the Philadelphia Eagles. He got hurt right before the Super Bowl run as far as the playoffs concerned. Nick Foles came in, was able to capitalize on the run, or on a Super Bowl run rather, took him to the Super Bowl. Just like Jeff Hostetler did with the Giants back in the day when Phil Simms got hurt. Carson Wentz made it no secret he wanted out. There was no love lost between him and the coaching staff. And when he could have probably played at the end of the year last year. They went with Jalen Hurts to see what they had, even though they had an opportunity to possibly get into the playoffs if they'd have won that game. Well, he's in Indianapolis now, and he's got a world of talent around him. No excuses. No excuses. If Carson Wentz doesn't lead them deep into the playoffs, who's he going to blame now? It's like Sam Darnold. There's nobody to blame. Now, he's more of a humble guy, I think, than Carson Wentz, but he's been given carte blanche as far as no excuses. Free ride. Well, my friends, the free ride's over for him. And the last quarterback I want to mention is one that is near and dear to my heart. He toiled with Calvin Johnson. They had a pretty good combination, and that's Matt Stafford going to the Rams. Now, he went to them and said, look, I want to finish with a winner. I don't want to rebuild. And they found a suitor for him. They got Jared Goff, a couple of draft picks. They got a haul for him. Love the trade. Love the trade. And I love it for Matt Stafford. He gets to go to a team that is built to win now. We're going to find out if it was Jared Goff or maybe it was Sean McVay who stumbled in the playoffs. Goff probably could have played in that second game of the playoffs. Chose not to play him. You could tell that bridge was burnt. It was destroyed. Jared Goff's going to come to Detroit with a chip on his shoulder. We've talked about it 100 times. I'm not going to get into that. But Matt Stafford, to me, you'd think he was under pressure here in Detroit. And I've said it here 100 times, if not 1,000. If you're a goalie in Detroit, the closer for the Tigers, or the starting quarterback for the Lions, man, it's tough. And there's pressure. Well, I'm here to tell you now, he's in Tinseltown. And they're built to win. They've got a defense that is, if not the best, it's got to be in the top 2 or 3. And he's got weapons. He's got a good running game, very solid running game, and a very, very solid passing attack behind him. There's no excuses for Matt Stafford. I love Matt Stafford to death. He did great here in Detroit. I've always backed him. And it's so funny how the pundits in the national media never gave Matt Stafford the time of day, saying that all his stats were padded because they were always getting blown out. Well, now all of a sudden he's a great quarterback. So we'll talk more about that. But right now, let's go to the Captain Lou guest line, sponsored by Ken Ryan at Voya Financial Advisors. Give him a call today, 517-420-5669. That's Ken Ryan at Voya Financial Advisors, 517-420-5669. He'll get you started. Let's welcome in an old friend of the show and one of our hockey guys from way back, Marcus Grosnick. Marcus, thanks for joining us tonight. How are you, my friend?
Doing good, Captain. How things for you going up in Michigan?
Well, can't complain. Nice and warm, keeps the body loose and helps the golf swing a little bit.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Speaking of golf, how's your golf game treating you?
Actually, not too bad. Actually got a chance this last weekend to go play Aaron Hill. Decided the 2017 U.S. Open.
Oh, nice.
On Saturday and shot an 80, which I was very
wow.
happy with.
If we ever play, you're giving me at least.
I got to give you shots, right?
Oh, gee. Well, I'll settle for 5 and 9.
Okay, I'll give you 7 and 9.
Woo! You heard it here first, everybody. I love it. We'll play for a cocktail or two.
I like it. You're on.
Well, that sounds like you got to play a beautiful course, Marcus. That's a lot of fun. We'll talk about Phil Mickelson a little bit, but I want to get your take on the opening round of the NHL playoffs. I tell you what, could you have imagined so many overtime games deciding this series so far?
No, I really can't. And especially, I can't remember the last time we've had this many overtimes and even double and triple overtime games, within the first round already, with a couple teams punching their way through to the second round. I think it just has to do with goaltending. I think the goaltending has been really good these playoffs for every team, win, lose, or draw. And it's just, this playoff hockey, right? That's what everybody tunes into is how hard these guys fight to stay alive and to try to win that series to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. So credit to the goaltending and credit to the guys that even in a shortened season and in a division-only season, seeing some of these teams multiple times this season have really come out to play and play with some grit.
Well, I tell you, Marcus, if you're an Edmonton Oilers fan, you just got to be wondering, what in the holy hell can we do, not only to win a series, but to win a game? Triple overtime, 2 overtime losses. They score 4 goals on Sunday. Then last night, getting beaten at third overtime. Wow, that's just got to be a franchise. You talk about snake bit, man, they're right up there.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the early, 2010s and early 2010s, you had all those number 1 draft picks, right? You have the Everleys, the Halls, the Yakupovs, the McDavid, and they can never either get into the playoffs, or if they do, just like this year, they can't find a way, even with all that talent with McDavid and Draisaitl, can't win a playoff series. And for the Winnipeg Jets, what a great way to come back and win that series, right? 2 overtime wins in a row, and they find it in the triple overtime on Sunday to knock off the Edmonton Oilers. I think Winnipeg could be a real dark horse on that side of the bracket. I think they'll reseed in the semifinals, but whoever gets Winnipeg, if they make it that far, is going to have their hands tied.
And you look at Toronto and Montreal, and that's who they would play in the second round, and I think it's scoreless right now in the second period. 2-1 Toronto. Tavares gets that scary injury, but Marcus, we've watched Toronto with all that talent for all these years now, and they just say, they can't get out of the first round. I think they possibly will, but then again, you go up against Hellebuck in that next round. You mentioned it, solid goaltending. I'm waiting for Toronto to explode, but they're going to have to show it to me first.
Yeah, and you look at who they have up front: Matthews and Marner and Riley and Nylander. Those are 4 guys that are some high-powered shooters. Matthews had 41 goals this season. Marner had 67 points, which led the team, 47 assists. And Jack Campbell's been a really solid netminder for them in goal this year with 17 wins on the season. So you think this would be the team that, coming out of that Canadian division, now that Edmonton's out, that Toronto should be the favorite. But I think Montreal, with their goaltending, guys like Philip Deneau, veteran on the back end, Shea Weber, Sherratt, guys like that, you have some wily veterans that could carry this team into the second round and could give Winnipeg a really good run for their money.
Well, again, and you mentioned it at the top, it's been fun watching it, so many close games, and I couldn't agree with you more. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see who comes out of that division. We go to the West, and I thought the Knights were going to. I thought they're going to clinch it last night. I went to bed thinking they were going to do it. Woke up this morning and thought, wow, we got a game 6. To me, them and Colorado, if they two get to play each other, what a dynamite. You thought Boston and Washington was going to be fun to watch. These two teams getting together, it's going to be a war.
Yeah, that might be the series of the playoffs if that does happen and the Vegas Knights hold off the Minnesota Wild. But, I mean, what can you say about Colorado, right? I mean, they just have the star power. They have the goaltending, Rantanen, McKinnon. Devin Taves has been really good on the back end for them at almost 25 minutes ice time average in that series. Grubauer has 30 wins. So they're just good all-around team, and I think they're good. They have good power play, good penalty kills. They got some grit, but they also got the scorers. And in the playoffs, goaltending is what wins these Stanley Cups. And I think Philip Grubauer out of the lot might be one of the better ones in the playoffs right now.
What is Marc-Andre Fleury's secret to keep it going? He was left unprotected in the expansion draft, like a new lease on life with Vegas. And I tell you, I marvel at watching him.
Yeah, it must be something in the water in Vegas because this man just continues to make big saves after big saves, keeping the Knights in every single game that he plays. He had 26 wins this season for them in the regular season. I think for him, there's just those guys that when it comes playoff time, they take it to another level. And I think Marc-Andre Fleury is that type of goaltender. And you need someone with experience like that in net for you in the playoffs. And him and Grubauer in that second round of Vegas does go head-to-head. I don't think you're going to see a lot of high-scoring games in that second round. It's going to be a lot of 1-0, 2-1s, or 3-2s.
I agree. It's it's going to come down to me who makes the first mistake in that series.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we got to go over to the East, and I bought into the Washington hype train. I am shocked that went 5, and they laid. I shouldn't say laid down, but I'm going to say it. They kind of laid down to Boston. Boston punked them, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And you got to look at both teams, right? I think Boston had the younger of the two rosters. You had an older goalie in Craig Anderson who, even though he's older, still plays really well. Ovechkin obviously is getting up there. Only had 2 goals in the playoffs in that series against Boston. But I just like the combination of Rask in goal, Bergeron up front down the middle, and then McAvoy on the back end. Mm-hmm. And then you have Pasta, who had 6 points in that first round against Washington. And I kind of had Washington beating Boston in that first round and Chara getting some revenge on
Me too.
his old team.
Yeah.
His old team. But, give credit where credit is due, right? Boston knocks out the Capitals for the 3rd straight time in the first round since the Capitals won the Stanley Cup. So they haven't made it past the first round since they won it all a few years ago. And I think if you're the general manager and team president of the Capitals, you got to start looking at growing some talent through the system and getting a little bit younger, get a little bit faster, and trying to find a different way to win games.
Do you see Ovechkin staying there?
I mean, everything I read, he wants to stay, right? He wants to be Capital for the rest of his career. Whether that happens or not, I truly don't think it does. I think someone in the league is going to pay him an outlandish amount of money to leave Washington for a 2 or 3 year contract to kind of finish his career somewhere else. But crazier things have happened. I would love to see him stay, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Yeah,
I kind of agree with you. It's I don't think he wants to go through a rebuild at all. And I got to tell you, Steve Yzerman looked like a genius with that trade with Mantha going to Washington. Mantha was like Casper the Ghost towards the end of the year. No points in the last 15 games, nothing in the playoffs. Boy, oh boy, I thought maybe Mantha would get a new, and it's early yet, but I really thought he'd make more of a contribution for Washington than what he did.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember who did they get back in that trade? with Detroit. Was it Vrana?
Vrana, yeah, and he got on fire for Detroit.
And they got Panik, who
Yep.
Hawks fans know Richard Panik from a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Yzerman continues to do his marvels, right? I mean, he did it in Tampa Bay, and he won the Stanley Cup. He comes to Detroit, his alma mater, starting to make some smart moves. I like Vrana, and I like Panik, and they got a first-round pick out of it, too. So, obviously, they won that trade with the way that Mantha played and has kind of struggled over the last season or two as well.
Were you surprised that the Red Wings kept Blashill as a head coach?
I am. I thought for sure with a lot of the coaches that are around, some of the younger coaches, I mean, he's been there for a couple seasons now, and he really hasn't had a lot of success. I don't think he's even taken them to the playoffs yet.
No. I think he went his first year, and they got beat in the first round, but that's it. So.
Yeah, and he's been there since 2015, so he really hasn't done much with them, and I thought for sure they would be able to make a move. And in that first year, like you said, they lost to Tampa Bay in the first round, and since that first season, they haven't finished any better than fifth in the division, finishing seventh and eighth a couple times in there too. So I would have thought it would have been time to move on and find a new bench boss.
We're joined by Marcus Grosnick, a friend of the show, or one of our NHL experts. He's also going to be with the Chicago Cougars this year. We'll get into that before we sign off with him tonight. We're also going to talk a little PGA golf with him. Marcus, on the other side of that division, you got the Panthers and the Penguins and the Islanders. And, wow, the Penguins had a great year. At the beginning of the year, I thought that they would be a borderline playoff team. They've had a heck of a run, obviously, to win that division. Now they're getting their hands full with Barry Trotz and the Islanders, and a big win yesterday for the Isles. Now, I'll tell you, I think this is still going to go 7 games. I think Pittsburgh's going to force a game 7.
Yeah, I think so too. And this series might be the toughest and the roughest series of them all right now. Especially, I think it was like game 3 or 4 where they had that big scrum and they had like 4 or 5 guys inside in the penalty box in that second period. No, I think 7 games is what the series is going to go to. And Pittsburgh got it done this year without Malkin for a little bit there. He did not have his best of season. And so far in the playoffs, I don't think Crosby's had a point, and I think Malkin's only had a couple in the series too. So the Islanders are doing a good job of keeping the big guys off the score sheet, but then you still have, the Letangs and the Carters who pick up the slack where Malkin and Crosby are lacking. So I like the Islanders in 7. I like this Sorokin in goal. Bailey's played really good, and I'm really a Jean-Gabriel Pageau fan. He's got 4 helpers and 5 points in the series already, and it's come up clutch in a lot of situations.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch that one. That in their next game, I believe that's tomorrow night, 7:30. So that's definitely going to be one that we'll keep our eye on as well. Going to the Panthers and the Lightning, a coach near and dear to your heart, Marcus. Joel Quenneville's got the Panthers playing pretty well. They're still in it. They blew that lead in the earlier game, but they got a chance still. They're not out of it.
They are, and they went to the Kid the other night to get that 4-1 win. Spencer Knight made his playoff debut in that for the Panthers. Played really, really well. Had a good game, like I said, only giving up that 1 goal. And Quenneville, even in his time in Chicago, was always known as mixing things up and not being afraid to put guys in different spots. And to pull the rabbit out of the hat to put Spencer Knight in goal over Sergei Bobrovsky, who had 20 wins this season, now looks like an absolute genius move down in the Sunshine State. I still think Tampa's going to pull this series out. I think it's going to be tomorrow night in Game 6. But crazier things have happened, and part of me really wants the Panthers to knock off the Lightning and move on to that second round.
I don't know. That one was one that was too close to call. I didn't think that the Panthers, especially when they went down 2-0, I thought the series would be over by now. And so they've shown some grit. So part of me wants them to win it as well. But I'm with you. I think that one's going to go Tampa Bay's way. They may even be able to close it out tomorrow night. And finally, the last one that we need to talk about is Carolina and the Preds. right now that's 1-1 in the first period. Just when I thought I wrote off the Predators, they come back, some overtime wins for them, playing with a lot of heart, a lot of grit as well. Carolina, they've played so well in the regular season, yet they're struggling a little bit now with the Predators.
Yeah, and I thought for sure after Carolina took that 2-0 series lead going back to Nashville that Carolina was going to sweep that series.
Yeah.
With just how well Nedeljkovic has played in goal and getting the contributions from, Slavin and Aho.
Mm-hmm.
And Nedeljkovic has experience winning championships. I believe he won an AHL title with the Charlotte Checkers before coming up to the Carolina Hurricanes. So you got that championship pedigree on that side. UC Saros, what can you say? 21 wins this year, taking over for Pekka Rinne in goal and being that number one goaltender, has played outstanding.
Yes,
and kept them in games 3 and 4 to get those 2 overtime wins. I think this is going to go 7 games. I think Carolina pulls it out tonight at home, and then someone's going to have to win a road game. Someone's going to have to win a road game.
Yeah,
and whoever does that is going to win this series right now in Game 5. I think it says it's 1-1.
And it's such a fun time of year because everybody's leaving it all on the ice, and there hasn't been a disappointing. The only maybe disappointing series. I honestly thought St. Louis would give Colorado a little more of a fight, but boy, you could sure tell the talent difference between those two teams.
Well, especially when Ryan O'Reilly came out and said they were going to have fun and beat Colorado, and ended up getting swept.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. And right now, St. Louis got walked right out of the first round.
Boy, they sure did. And finally, the last thing I got with the NHL, and I'm not dogging your Blackhawks because you're in the same boat I am. We're on the outside looking in. You guys had a hell of a run with Taves and Kane, at 3 Stanley Cups. What's the mood in Chicago right now, Marcus, with the state of the Blackhawks?
It's kind of that same thing with Washington, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely an older team. Taves obviously didn't play it all this year. Seabrook didn't play it all this season. You didn't have Crawford for the first time this year after he went to New Jersey and ended up retiring. Keith is definitely getting up there. He's in his mid-40s, and though he still plays a lot of minutes, he hasn't really shown that fire that he did when they won those 3 cups in 5 years. It's time to rebuild, and I think you saw that this year with the amount of rookies. I think they had the most rookies debut this season for the team, which I think was like double digits. But guys like Pius Suter and Ian Mitchell on the back end, Kubalik continues to take his steps forward as a forward. And I think in goal, you're really going to see Kevin Lankinen take over that number 1 goalie spot, as well as another kid that they signed, Arvid Soderblom, from the Swedish Elite League. So there's 3 or 4 goalies that are going to be in the mix, but these young kids, I think, are going to start to take some more leadership roles, like DeBrincat, who had an outstanding season.
Yes, he did.
And then, like I said, guys like Suter and Mitchell.
And I hope for your sake that the rebuild or the makeover, whatever, does not take as long as it's taken with Detroit. I know Detroit's got some young talent coming. They played overseas, and it's starting to come together a little bit. But boy, oh boy, it's, I'll take it for the 4 cups that Detroit got. But man, it seems like those cups were a long, long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, think about all the success that Chicago was filled with, right? They win that last one, and they haven't made it out of the first round since then, or have not made the playoffs. And there's a lot of talk around here that the Hawks, there's a lot of people that think Jeremy Colleton isn't the coach for the team.
Wow.
And that they need to go out and try to find another coach to kind of help these young guys along, and that someone that has some experience in the NHL, unlike Colleton, he only has a couple seasons that he's been with Chicago. So a lot of moving parts. We'll see what happens. They still got guys like Reichel that are overseas in Germany that won a championship with Berlin this season, that most likely he'll make the squad next season. So they're going to be even younger than they were this year. But I think in the long term, that's going to be a good thing.
Well, let's put the puck away momentarily. Let's get the golf clubs back out. How much of the PGA Championship did you get to see this weekend?
I watched all the first, all the second, a little bit of the third since I was at Aaron, and then I watched the entire fourth round on Sunday, and amazing. I mean, usually I'm one to bet for Phil because I'm a lefty like he is, but I definitely did not have him winning that one.
No, I lucked out. My wife and I were sitting here, and she's like, "Are you betting on this tournament?" And I said, I was betting on group, like the head-to-head matchups. And she says, I want to put some money on Phil. And it was 12-1 teeing off before he teed off on Saturday. So I put a little bit of money down, and you know what? We got to go to the window on that one. And
there you go.
Yeah, and it just the first thing that obviously the course played tough, Marcus. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of Whistling Straits, except it's on the ocean, maybe a little Pebble Beach. But what really got me was the lack of the inability for these guys to adjust to the speed of the greens. Louis Oosthuizen must have had 20 putts that were short. Brooks Koepka, they just couldn't get a feel for it. And, Brooks said Saturday night, after his round, he said that the practice green was a little bit faster. Well, okay, these guys just, I know it's easy for me to sit back and say, why didn't you hit the ball a little harder? But I've never seen a major where these guys were all so short on their putts.
Yeah, and I think the wind definitely had a factor in that. I mean, a lot of those greens are kind of like those link-style greens where they're very undulating and have a lot of movement to them. So you have to left to right putt, and the wind is breaking right to left, and the putt goes left to right. You have to calculate, is the wind going to push it enough to make it a straight putt, or do you play it a little firmer in the hole? I see where Brooks is coming from because usually the practice green is about the same as the course. However, you're a professional. You should be able to, after the first green or two, be able to say, okay, these greens are a little slower. I'm going to need to hit these putts with a little bit more speed to get to the hole. And I think if they were able to do that, honestly, with the amount of putts that Oosthuizen missed on Saturday and Sunday, he probably could have won that championship by double digits if those putts start falling.
Oh, boy. You've played the game enough. Momentum's a crazy thing, Marcus. You get going. You get that confidence, man. You feel like you can do anything. And I agree with you 100%. If he would have made some putts, he would have just, he would have been on a roll, and he probably would have won easily by 5 shots, But getting back to Phil, what worried me, Marcus, was when he teed off on 18, I believe it was, all I could see was that shot he did in the U.S. Open where he hit it into the hospitality tent or whatever it was, and he blew it. And I'm thinking, God almighty, don't do it again. And, he overcame. He didn't get rattled. And, we've seen him over the years when he hits a couple of bad shots, it takes him a round to get over it sometimes. And that recovery shot he hit on 18 on Sunday, man, was that – you talk about money. Holy cow.
Yeah, and I think that whole round gets set up by the hole out from the bunker. I think it was on 4 or 5 early on that round.
Yes.
I think once he does that, now mentally he has the momentum. He has the confidence that he's like, all right, this is mine. And in those first 5 holes, it was like punch, counter punch between him and Pebble. One would birdie, one would double. Then the other one would double, the other one would birdie. It was kind of back and forth. And I think once he held that shot from the green side bunker on, I think, 4 or 5, that's when I knew, all right, Phil got this. He's driving the ball great, which if you're anybody that follows Phil, he isn't the greatest driver of the ball typically. But for him this week, besides those couple holes where he hit it in the water on Saturday on 17, that kind of cost him that 4-stroke lead.
Yes.
He hit a lot of fairways. His wedge game was superb. And, Phil's always been a really good putter. So I think for him, hitting those fairways, finding greens, and just getting them close and not trying to overdo anything was what helped him win that tournament.
And it was such a great feel-good story. And, you top it off with the crowds being able to be there. And that scene on 18 when he's walking up the fairway with tens of thousands of people behind him, kind of something out of the British Open. And it just, golf is back, sports is back. You know, we're getting there. That brought me chills watching him walk up 18.
Yeah, and I think if you look at like maybe the three biggest wins on the PGA Tour in the history of the tour, you got to look at Nicklaus when he won the Masters in '86. And I think the scene from Sunday is one that you could parallel to when Tiger won that first tournament at the Tour Championship. Mm-hmm. I think that was 2018 it was.
Yeah.
And he had all those fans with him behind him. But Phil's the fans guy. I mean, he's the average Joe that
he sure is.
Tweets and makes videos and has a good time, and everybody wants to be with Phil and be like Phil. And I think to see that and to show everybody that age is just a number and that you can still win if you believe and put into practice, I think you're going to start seeing some other guys like Padraig Harrington, who finished tied fourth, and guys like Stuart Sink, who are in the top 10 of the FedEx Cup after a couple wins this year, can still play at a high level and hang with some of these young guys.
Yeah, and you see when Phil outdrove Koepka a couple of those holes, you could see a little extra. I don't really think his chest was puffed out, but boy, you could see that extra pep in his step, that little wry smile when he outdrove Koepka in a couple of those holes on the back nine.
Yeah, I think it was 17 that was downwind, and I think he hit it like 366.
Yeah,
he did. The longest drive of the week.
Wow. I know. Hey, that was amazing. And a couple of the golfers that I was surprised at, and you know, I feel so bad for Rory Mcilroy. He looked lost out there on the green. He'd hit, I don't know, and this isn't the only time he's done it, Marcus. He gets out there, he hits a dynamite drive, beautiful approach, and he can't make a 6-foot putt. And he's just, you know, the blade has left him, man, in my opinion. And again, we talked how difficult it was there, and then, you know, Jordan Spieth, you're waiting for him to break through in a major. I mean, he has been playing well, but they both kind of look lost in this, you know, the third on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, and Rory, even though he's one win this year, just like Spieth already won this season, it seems like they find it one week, and for the next, like, 2 or 3 weeks, there's something with the game that goes wrong. And for Rory, it was not hitting good drive, and then when he does find the fairway, he hasn't been finishing his swings. He's been pushing a lot of stuff to the right, which has really caused him some trouble. And for Spieth, seems like he's either clubbing up too much, he's overshooting greens, or he's not getting enough club. He's having trouble trying to find his distance control over the last couple weeks. And with the wind, how bad it was throughout the week, when you're having distance control problems with no wind, it's going to be even harder when you have a 17-mile-an-hour wind, either in your face or coming downwind. So I think that's kind of what did those two guys in this weekend.
So now, and finally, we've got about 3 weeks, I believe it is, 3 or 4 weeks, and then we've got the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. That's, you know, Phil's course. You know, everybody's going to be talking about it. As much as I'd love to see it, I don't know if it'll happen, but wow, that's his elusive major. Man, it's going to set up for drama. I'm really looking forward to that, you know, that tournament coming up Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, even the next 3 weeks, this week they got the Charles Schwab at Colonial, which is a great tournament. Yep. They got the Memorial, which is Jack's tournament at Muirfield in 2 weeks, and then the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines the week after that. So 3 great weeks. I don't think you're really going to see Phil until the Memorial. I think he'll probably play a tune-up round or tune-up tournament, I guess you could say, at Jack's place. That should be a good field. And in Torrey Pines, that's his backyard. He's going to have the hometown crowd behind him, and I think he's going to be Jack. I don't think he's going to win, but I sure think he's going to have a pretty good run at a top 10 or a top 5 at a U.S. Open again.
What did you think of the look of John Daly?
I loved it. John
he is
John,
so
right?
cool,
I mean,
man.
Just driving a golf cart on Kiowa, smoking a cigarette. It just doesn't care. He's like, I'm just going to tee it high and let it fly. Whatever happens, happens.
You know, and he birdied the first hole. He was leading after his first hole. You know, I mean, wouldn't that have been something, eh?
At this point, with Phil winning right now, anything is possible, and I wouldn't be surprised if anybody like that would be on the top of the leaderboard.
Marcus, this has been fun. Tell us a little bit. Seems like you're always on the go, man. Now you've got a new venture out with the Chicago Cougars. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on with them.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. The Chicago Cougars, for those that don't know, play the USPHL, which is one of the top-tier junior systems in the nation. There's a lot of teams, a lot of different divisions throughout the country, and I was able to do a couple fill-in games for them this season late in the year, probably did a couple weekends, and just had good conversations with the ownership group and the assistant coach and the head coach, and was able to become their new play-by-play broadcaster starting this coming season. And it comes at an exciting time. The Cougars are actually going to be moving from suburbs of Chicago and West Dundee right into downtown Chicago, and they're going to call Fifth Third Arena their new home facility, which is also the practice and training facility for the Chicago Blackhawks. So the location of the rink is only about 5 blocks from the United Center where the Hawks play. So they are going to be practicing right after the Hawks during the week, and they're also going to be able to have the assistance and the use of the Hawks strength and conditioning coach, John Goodman, to help their guys out as well when they need it. So a great move for the Cougars, an exciting time for the organization who made it to nationals again this year and just continue to pump out a lot of really good hockey players.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you said that's a league that's really spread out throughout the whole country. Is that not correct?
Correct. Yep.
And I mean, it goes all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast, man. That's exciting. You know, I know I've been talking about this, and we have been talking about it, but I smell a road trip to come to watch you in action if you're only 5 blocks away from the United Center. That sounds like a downtown Chicago road trip for this old guy.
I guess we're going to have to look at the schedule and see when the Cougars play one night and the Hawks play the next.
That would be an absolute treat. Marcus, thanks for taking time out tonight. This has been a lot of fun. Keep up the great work down there, and look forward to following you with the Cougars. When does the season start for you guys? Is it starting right around Labor Day?
I think it's a little bit after Labor Day. The schedule should be coming out here by the end of the month or early June. So once that does come out, I'll definitely pass that along to you and your listeners, and we'll definitely figure out a time for you to come down to Chicago and take a look at the facilities and the team.
Now, again, another question about what kind of age group are we talking for the USPHL?
So these kids are high school kids.
Okay.
Anywhere, these are the 18U guys. So this is like juniors, seniors in high school. We actually had a couple guys that played in the OHL.
Okay.
That played for us this season, which was really, really cool. And so we just a really good high school developmental program. Like you said, it's stretched out all across the country with, I think it's 6-7 different divisions, from premier all the way through the youth division. So a lot of these guys will go on to play college, a lot of college recruits and commits. Mm-hmm. And some of them have actually gone on to play in the NHL and some of the higher level leagues like the USPHL as well.
How exciting is that? Really looking forward to following you with that. It sounds like a great opportunity for you. All right, I've got it written down. 7 shots a 9, and going down to downtown Chicago to watch you in action. I'll tell you what, we definitely have got to get our calendars out, Marcus. Thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. It's always fun catching up with you. Enjoy your summer. Hit them long and straight, and enjoy the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs.
Sounds good, Lou. Appreciate you having me on, and we'll talk to you down the road.
All right. Marcus Grosnick, the new play-by-play voice of the Chicago Cougars of the USPHL, and also one of our hockey insiders, always gracious with his time here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12-ounce sports platform and networks. Quick scoring updates. We got the Predators and the Hurricanes all tied up at 1 through 1 period, and Toronto has exploded for 3 goals in the second period. Nylander at 127, Spezza at 12:28, Thornton at 14:56. The goal for the Predators, Trennan at 11:44, and then Nikas with the power play at 14-21. Toronto up 2-1 over Montreal in that series. Winner of that series, as we mentioned, gets Winnipeg. They handled the Jets. We're going to take a break. Oh, I seem to have lost my signal here. Let's, let's go to the, there we are. Ha! There with the magic of live radio. How about that? We're going to take a break. My camera just went dark on us. But anyways, thanks to Marcus for joining us. As we mentioned, the winner of that Toronto-Montreal series, they get Winnipeg, who took care of Edmonton in 4 straight, 3 overtime game last night. 3 of the 4 games were in overtime. All 1 goal losses for Edmonton. It doesn't get much closer than that. I feel bad for the Oiler fans. I know Cody, one of our big fellas here at 12 Ounce Sports, he's just got a fit to be tied. You know, they need some help up there. It's more than a 2-man show. They need some goaltending. They just need that winning attitude is what they need. So anyways, look at this camera. The other one's dark. All right, we're going to come back. When we do, we're going to talk more about the NFL. We'll get into the NBA coming up at the bottom of the hour in about 20 minutes from now. Mike Said It First host Mike Carvelis. You can catch him 12:30 Eastern time every Wednesday here on the network. He brings the heat. He's going to come on the show and bring the heat, talking a little NBA. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, so we'll get his thoughts on what's going on in the NBA. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12 Ounce Sports platform and networks and Zingo TV, channel 761.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12 Ounce Sports platform and networks and Zingo TV, channel 761. Also, you can hear a rebroadcast of our show or watch the replay of our show on our website, which is captainlou.net. Speaking of websites, check out the latest on the 12 Ounce Sports platform and networks and 12ouncesportsnetwork.com. Check out the blogs we've got. We've got some very talented writers. Tyler Valdez, the Vegas Squares podcast is on there. Replays of the shows that we have here on the networks. Also want to thank the first half of our doubleheader here tonight every Tuesday. It's an absolute pleasure to follow the Burn with Mitch Mitch Bernstein, Philadelphia guy through and through. He comes on and brings the heat from 6 until 8 o'clock Eastern time. And always got some great guests on there. He had Denny McClain on a while back. He's got some big surprises coming up this summer as well. As do we here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We want to make Tuesday your go-to night for the latest in sports talk and sports entertainment here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on 12 Ounce Sports. So check out our website, though, for all the list of all the shows. We got the Rome show at 8 o'clock on Thursday nights. We got we do Sports Great on Wednesday nights. Great show there. Talking Minors with Rando on Monday nights. You talk about someone that jumps off the top rope or off the top of the cage. Man, that's him. And also, we want to let you know about, again, our hockey expert extraordinaire when it comes to picking the games, our handicapper extraordinaire, new proud papa, Philly Pete. You can catch him Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 12 until 12:30. He'll, like I said, he'll bring it. He's got the inside scoop on all the games. He does the time. He does the research. He'll give you the plays that you need to make to win the big money. While you're looking at mybookie.ag, you can take those numbers to the bank. Again, 1-1 our score between the Predators and the Hurricanes after one period in Toronto, up on Montreal 3-1. That Predators and Hurricanes series is all tied up at 2. Toronto up 2-1 in theirs. So, again, want to thank Marcus Grosnick. Forgot to ask him, though, he's a big pro wrestling guy. We're going to have to get him on the wrestling extravaganza that we have every other Wednesday. We'll be on, not tomorrow, but the following Wednesday after Double or Nothing on AEW. We're going to run that down with yours truly and my co-host Matt Gamlin as we will dive into the WWE, the AEW pay-per-view. Speaking of the WWE, Adnan Virk, you can catch him on the MLB Network. Long time he was on ESPN. His stint as the lead voice of Monday Night Raw was quick, uneventful, and unfortunately for him, not very well received. Just, and I felt bad for the guy. It's funny. I know we'll leave this for our pro wrestling show, but I just wanted to, for those of you that are, you watch these guys on TV, it's so different with the WWE with their broadcasters. And I'll tell you why. For those of you that don't know, they get told what to say in their headphones 90% of the time. And, I give Michael Cole credit, Corey Graves, all of them, Byron Saxton, whoever. They've got to listen to Vince McMahon or Triple H or whoever screaming instructions in their ear and try to talk about it at the same time. You talk about it all being scripted in the ring. It's all scripted out of the ring. And I give Adnan Virk all the credit in the world for being able to. I thought he made a solid attempt. It's like everything else. You got to give the guy a chance to get it. But I think they mutually agreed to part ways. I don't think he realized how much travel was involved going back and forth to Florida. And just think how it would have been once they start traveling again, because they are going to in July. And so the live events are going to start up in Texas and then all over the country again once we get full capacity. And that's going to be fun to watch. The Thunderdome was cool, but it's run its course. But we'll talk more about that on the Captain Lou Wrestling Extravaganza, which will be a week from tomorrow, and you'll catch it live right here on the 12-ounce sports platform and network, Zingo TV, channel 761. Again, you can follow us on Twitter Live, our YouTube channel, Facebook Live. We're all there. We're on Twitch as well. I forgot about that. So, again, keep that in mind. Speaking of following us, again, want to bring on and, again, introduce you to our newest sponsor here on the 12-ounce sports, Captain Lou Extravaganza, I should say. Sponsor of our show, Manscaped.com. Now, guys, I'm on a crusade, I'm telling you. We're not calling it our junk anymore. It's too valuable to be called the junk. So if it's valuable to you, you got to get it walking tall. You got to get it looking good. The more confidence you have in the fellas, the better off you're going to be. And nobody better to help you out with that than Manscaped.com. Check out their website. and use the promo code CAPTAIN for your discount. The promo code CAPTAIN, they've got the deodorant, they've got the trimmers, everything. You need the forest trimmed? That's where you got to go. Manscaped.com. And use the promo code CAPTAIN, and you'll get your discount there. That's Manscaped.com, our newest sponsor here to the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Hey, we talked about right before Marcus came on, we're going to wrap up our talk with the NFL quarterbacks that are on the hot seat. Now, we talked about Sam Darnold, and the hype that he's gotten, it didn't pan out in New York. I get it. He was injured. He had mono. He had not a whole lot to work with. With Adam Gase as his head coach, didn't really see eye to eye with him. He's got to change the scenery. No more excuses. Carson Wentz on a Super Bowl team. He's gotten to the playoffs. He was on his way to being an MVP. He got injured. Kind of clashed with the coaching staff. No more excuses. He's in Indianapolis. He's got talent surrounding him, and he's got to produce. The free pass is gone with those two. And again, with Matt Stafford, as I mentioned. He's got all that talent around him in Los Angeles. Now he had, I think, a decent run in Detroit. He played in 3 playoff games. Didn't win any. Now, I don't think any of them were his fault. That one in Dallas, no. The referees, I don't like to blame the refs, and I'm trying not to be a ref baiter, but, Dean Blandino, I still got it in for you going on Jerry Jones's party bus the night before being the head referee in that Lions game and picking that face guarding flag up when Matt Stafford was driving them down for the score to go up two scores with under 4 minutes to go in that fourth quarter. But Matt Stafford had 3 opportunities, and he didn't look sharp in that Seattle game, in that playoff game. So, like I said, you think the pressure is on him and was on him in Detroit, being a quarterback there. The 3 positions that are tougher than the mayor, being the goalie, being the closer, and being the starting quarterback. There's going to be a ton of pressure on him in LA, man. It's going to be there. And I just hope he's ready for it. And I wanted to add one more quarterback to this, and his name popped up again today. And they're not even going to do preliminary exams on this guy until 22, and that's Deshaun Watson. So he's got a new lease on life, at least for this year. 3 teams are out to look, there's 3 teams in the market for him as of right now that we've heard. And, one of them's the Dolphins. I think the Washington football team's the other one, and I can't remember the third one. I don't think it's the Raiders. Maybe it was. There's a guy, even before all the sexual allegations came out, he came out pretty much said he wanted out. He said, I don't fit in here. Well, why in God's green earth did you sign that contract when you knew, and you signed it after DeAndre Hopkins got traded? You were all happy, all smiles. You wanted that money. You got it. Now you don't want to be there anymore. I would steer 100 miles away from him. I would, I know he played tough. He played with a collapsed lung. I get it. But he knew what he was getting himself into with that contract, with that team when he signed it. And it drives me nuts when I hear all the people defending him in that contract and how he deserves. He has the right to dictate where he wants to go. This is where pro sports is going. The NBA is doing it for a while. But Aaron Rodgers, at least he won a Super Bowl. Do I like the way he's going about it? No. He's being whiny. But, Deshaun Watson does not deserve that same kind of grace, even without the sexual assault allegations. No way. No way at all. So June 1st is going to be very interesting. That's next week. Who knows? We could be talking about some trades next Tuesday night on the Extravaganza. Next Tuesday, by the way, we're going to switch gears and talk some baseball. It's the 3 measuring points that Major League Baseball has always used. There's Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day. Well, Memorial Day is quarter pole number 1, if you will. We're going to talk to Paul Shivari next week, and we'll see if we can effort one half of the Tuesday night dynamic duo. We'll see if Mitch Bernstein can come back on. We'll get his feelings on how the first quarter of the season, maybe first third of the season's gone. My Tigers, whenever they get a winning streak going, then they kind of stub their toe a little bit. Tough loss last night against the Tribe, 6-5. But we're going to talk baseball next week. We'll talk NBA and NHL, no doubt about it. The playoffs are here. It's their time of year, if you will. So we'll definitely talk about them. And, the Aaron Rodgers saga just keeps getting better and better. Whatever NBA news comes on, we'll make sure to talk about it. But we got a lot to going on this summer. Man, the year's flying by. And I want to take this moment again to thank everybody who has taken the time out to watch us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. It means the world to me. We don't tell you enough of what, our gratitude. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't be on here. And appreciate everybody that's taken the time out to be a guest on the show over the years. And so it's just going to get bigger and better. Lots in the works here. Stay tuned to 12 Ounce Sports. We've got such a great array of projects in the works here on the network. You're going to be amazed. Ohio Gladiators football, you name it. It's just the beginning. And we really are looking forward to bringing it to you. We're going to take another break. We'll be back when we come back in about 5 minutes after we come back. Mike Said It First host Mike Carvelis is going to join us. Again, you catch him here on the 12 Ounce Sports platform and networks. He's going to join us and talk. Sorry if you heard the dog bark upstairs here over the top of our palatial studios here in Grand Ledge, Michigan. But that's Miggy up there being the guard dog, if you will. We're going to take a break. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza, sponsored by Manscaped.com. Use the promo code CAPTAIN. Get on there. No more junk. It's your fellas. It's your pride and joy. You want to make them feeling good, looking good, because if they look good and feel good, then you got the confidence, and that's what we want you to have. Check out Manscaped.com. Use the promo code CAPTAIN for 10% off your purchase. That's Manscaped.com, our new sponsor here of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We'll be right back here on the 12 Ounce Sports platform and networks.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money. And we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Captain Lou Extravaganza Live here on the 12-Ounce Sports platform and networks. That includes Facebook Live, Twitter Live, and also our YouTube channel, on Twitch as well. And you can also catch us on Zingo TV, channel 761. We invite you to check that out. They've got replays of our shows on there as well. That's our channel on Zingo. That is channel 761. Just got an update on the game tonight between the Nets and the Celtics. Wow. The Nets are starting to flex their muscles a little bit. We'll talk to Mike Carvelis here shortly on that. 109-82 after 3 quarters of play. They have put the pedal to the metal. They looked a little slow in the opening quarter the other day. And after that, man, it's been all Brooklyn. And if those 3 can keep their heads in the game, they're going to be tough to beat. That's the only thing I worry about is with Harden and with Kyrie is if they can stay mentally sharp. I mean, there's no denying the talent. I think that James Harden is underrated as a passing, as a point guard, facilitating. Again, if they can stay mentally sharp, then I think that they got a shot at going somewhere. That's going to be a great series if they play Milwaukee, which after a couple of games, it's beginning to look like it. It really is. And so we'll keep an eye on that as well. So 109-82, that coming up here at the top of the hour. Well, now it's 111-82. Lakers and Suns tip off from the land of the sun, and then the Clippers and the Mavericks in game 2 for each one of those teams. Phoenix and Dallas each lead 1-0. And right now an update in the NHL as they're through 2 periods of play. Now the Maple Leafs still on top of the Canadiens 3-0 as Toronto leads that 2-1. And the Predators and the Hurricanes, Preds now up 2-1 on that. Trennan now with the goal-ahead goal at 53 seconds into the second period. Well, let's go now back to our Captain Lou guest line, sponsored by Ryan Financial Advisors. Give them a call today at 517-420-5669. And we bring in the voice of Mike Said It First. You can catch him Wednesday afternoons. The afternoon, you complete your lunch hour, and you'll get the spark that you need for the rest of your Wednesday with Mike Carvelis from Mike Said It First. Mike, thanks for taking time out tonight to be on the show. How are you, my friend?
I'm miserable. How about you, Lou?
Miserable? Why?
Because I'm just going to jump right into it. I heard you talking about Brooklyn. I know you have the same game I have on. This feels like the overloaded Warriors.
Oh, boy.
I don't know what to think.
Mike, I tell you, it's like I said, if they can stay on the same page and they play any kind of defense, Mike, they're going to be tough to beat in that Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and that's my biggest thing with them is they, like the Golden State Warriors at least had some defense in them. This team has none unless, of course, they play dirty and poke Jason Tatum in the eye. But, I mean, it's really frustrating seeing that James Harden joined this team and now they're like unbeatable.
Yeah, and it's hard for me to root for them just for the way that he exited Houston, and Mike, we go back and forth and kid each other about what goes on in the NBA, and I understand. I've finally come around where, they're going to make the super teams. I mean, they've been doing it for, really realistically since the late 80s with the Celtics. And even the Pistons when they got Mark Aguirre at the trade deadline. But the way James Harden went about it, to me, was Bush League. And that's why I have no respect for the guy for what he did to the Rockets. I mean, he blatantly quit. And, to me, that's wrong.
And for me, like, somebody just literally responded to me on Twitter before, like 2 minutes before I was on the show, because I said, it'd be nice if it was just KD and Kyrie, but no, James Harden had to come. Somebody said, oh, well, I guess KD's a GM. Do people understand that, like you said, James Harden literally bush leagued his way out of Houston? There's no way people don't remember that.
People
It's
got
impossible.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable what he did. So it's completely bush league.
100% agree. And, it's winning cures all evils, man. And it's funny how people have short-term memories when it comes to that stuff. And, it kind of, I don't know. Like I said, Brooklyn's got all the talent in the world. If they can put it together, with LaMarcus Aldridge coming on board and Blake Griffin. And, it's like Griffin all of a sudden decided he wanted to play a little defense. He sure didn't do it in Detroit.
You noticed that? I know because you're a Pistons fan, or at least you lived in that area. So you did notice that Blake Griffin suddenly started playing well again.
Well, yeah, and I give Detroit credit. Well, Detroit got rid of him, but, they did it for their own benefit too because they knew they needed the salary cap relief. But anyways, enough of that. The Pistons are still light years away from being taken seriously, and so that hurts, even though I can still remember us getting our championships in 89, 90, and 04, but we're light years away from that. Mike, we've got a game I know that's near and dear to your heart coming up in about a half hour. It's going to be the Lakers and the Suns. You and I talked back and forth a little bit about Anthony Davis. And, my guest last week, Steve Finnemore, who to me, Mike, is, he has forgotten more about basketball than you and I put together will ever know. And
he's a beast.
Steve brought up a great point about Anthony Davis, and it's like, you question his how he stays motivated. If he wants to be a top 5 athlete or basketball player currently, if not all time, he's got to persevere. And I just think that if he's counted on to be number one, he can't do it.
Amen.
And I know you like LeBron, and LeBron to me is a top 5 player of all time, but he's banged up, and he didn't get the time, he didn't get the rest. All kidding aside that we do with each other, LeBron's going to need Anthony Davis to not take quarters off or, a half off. Games off, exactly. And, I mean, give me your thought on what you're going to see. What do the Lakers need to take care of the Suns? I'm just still surprised that they're favorites to win that series.
So I guess Vegas is kind of betting like the rest of humankind is betting Anthony Davis is going to try to show up one of these games. And it has to be I'm not saying it has to be tonight, but 2-0 against the Suns team that's obviously built for a long time. I mean, it's not like this team just came out of nowhere. This team has had Devin Booker for quite some time. They know what they're doing in a sense. So I don't really want to go down 2-0 to them. What frustrates me about Anthony Davis is that I understand. First, game one, LeBron James he didn't play in the fourth quarter well. It looked to me like he just didn't care because he had passed the ball to somebody else. But not only was KCP missing threes, Anthony Davis up to one point in the game had 1 rebound in like the third quarter. That's impossible.
Isn't that's crazy? You and I could do better than that.
Yeah, exactly. He had 1 more than me and you combined, Lou. So
exactly.
People were seriously criticizing Andre Drummond. The man was like dominating the glass. Anthony Davis was nowhere to be seen. I didn't understand it. Now LeBron James does need to play better, but it's all the reason they won last year is Anthony Davis had to be the guy. LeBron knows that. And
and again, I'm not trying. This isn't a slam on LeBron. But last year, Mike, they had 4.5 months rest, and they didn't have to travel. It was a little bit easier for them. Now it's a little bit tougher for LeBron too because they played the latest and they only had a month, 2 months off. So his legs are tired, and that's why I say you're spot on. They need Anthony Davis. They need Schroeder to come back to be somewhat healthy, and I hate to say this because it really bothers me, but I think they miss Rajon Rondo.
Oh, I mean, for sure, because, they want Taylor Horton-Tucker to be that guy, but he's still very raw, and he's very good, but he's very raw.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is frustrating them because Dennis Schroeder was like, help us, save us. And when Schroeder got hurt, it's like, well dang, what do we do now?
Yeah.
But
wow.
It's really, and I want to make something like, I think like you were attending to about LeBron's legs. The man has had 1 year off since like 2010, it seems like. By 2019, he basically tears his groin in half, and now it's like he's got to go back to winning games again. You kind of can't blame the guy for having 50,000 career minutes, which is already 10,000 more than Jordan ever had, which is insane to me.
Yeah.
10,000 more minutes already, and we're still expecting him to do something special. Eventually, it's going to happen. I don't want to see it happen, but it's going to happen soon.
Yeah, the man's had a hell of a run, and it's not done yet by any stretch, but especially if he can get Steph Curry to come to L.A.
Boy, as great, as fun as that would be, I don't know how much you have to pay Steph Curry. You have to pay him like 3 Supermax contracts. I don't see why he would leave Golden State.
No, I don't either.
It's like Damian Lillard in Portland. It's not going to happen.
I don't think, I just don't think he's a glitz and glamour guy. I mean, yeah, he likes the spotlight, Mike, but the guy's married. He's got 3 kids. He doesn't.
Yep.
I just don't think he fits the limelight. And Mike, here's something I want to talk about. Let's switch over to the other side of the arena. They're playing at 10:30 tonight. Now, First of all, do you think the Clippers really tanked so they would avoid L.A.?
Man, do you realize how well you have to play that in order to tank to avoid LA? After what Dallas did to them last year, and what Denver eventually did to them, they have no business tanking. So if they did, I would cry laughing in everybody's face. But I highly doubt that there's no way they could play that perfectly like that.
I think the Clippers are in trouble. I really do.
Dallas, they're in big trouble.
Dallas, in my opinion, looked strong the other night, and they went punch for punch with them until they pulled away. And they're not scared of the Clippers at all. I just
at all. Yeah.
Wow, I just love how Porzingis played. Obviously, you got Jokic or whatever his name, Jokic. Whatever. I always get Doncic. I always get him mixed up.
Right.
The way Doncic was hitting those 30-footers, Mike, my God, I was just, my dad and I and my son were sitting here watching it. We're like, holy crap, man. He made it look so effortless.
People don't understand this about Luka. Luka has done this for longer than, but people just think, he's a kid. And I'm 24. This year's like, 20, just turned 21. He is a kid, and I agree. But the man has been, I think he was like 14 when they let him join the pros. That's insane.
Yeah.
He knows every fundamental. So if you think you have Luka cornered, he's technically an 8-year vet at this point. I mean,
right.
Not in the NBA, but I've heard the European game is like second to the NBA because of how smart they are.
Boy, and he's sure proven it, isn't he? And getting back to the Clippers, they're going to need more than Rondo. I know he's playoff tested, but boy, oh boy, Paul George is going to have to step up his game a little bit. And I have no confidence in the Clippers. And I had picked them originally to play the Bucks in the finals, but boy, in the last couple of weeks, they've done nothing to give me any confidence they're going to get out of the first round.
I've always said Kawhi Leonard, stuff has to go right for him more than it does other players. Eventually, you have to admit what Kawhi Leonard is. He's a mid-range shooter. That's all he doesn't. When he drives, he begs for fouls because his layup game is actually surprisingly not impressive. His threes are nice, but if his mid-range is not working, it's not going to happen. Paul George, like you said, must be better. I've always been a Paul George fan, but I don't know what to do at this point with Paul George.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm sorry, Tyronn Lue is riding off the fact that he was part of that he was the coach of LeBron James.
God bless you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
That's the only reason why that man is a good coach right now.
Thank you. We all know who the coach of that team was.
Yeah.
Ty Lue was an assistant.
Ty Lue, literally, just because you come back from 3-1, if LeBron and Kyrie were not special, Ty Lue did them no favors. It's like Steve Nash. If Steve Kerr, for that matter. Let's look at Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr won Coach of the Year the exact year Steph Curry won unanimous MVP. That's impossible.
Yeah. That's nope. You're thank you. I've said that about Tyronn Lue since the word go. And we'll see how well they do in the playoffs this year, and it's funny is oh gosh, Doc Rivers got he got off scot-free for that mess with the Clippers, and he got a new lease on life with Philadelphia. He got no blame for them not making it, and that just drives me insane.
I think Doc. Real quick, I hate to break you up here, but Doc Rivers, to me, 2008 was like. I mean, that man has run a 2008 championship for quite some time.
Yeah.
And last year's Clippers, I was starting to doubt him. He went to Philadelphia and turned them into finally a man's team. I mean, granted, the Wizards beat them in Game 1. That's not surprising. It's kind of sad for Doc Rivers, but if he can get Philadelphia to the East Finals and be competitive at least or something like that, he's done a good job.
Okay, I can go along with that, but he deserves some of that blame that went on in L.A.
I agree.
And he got off scot-free. He's like he reminds me of the Seahawks coach. He was one step ahead of the axe, when he was with the USC. But that's another point for another time. Pete Carroll, there you go. We're joined by Mike said it first, his own Mike Carvelis. You can catch his show 12:30 Wednesdays. He brings the venom. He jumps off the top rope. He's got the barbed wire. He gets you going to get the rest of your hump day finished on Wednesdays. Check him out tomorrow. He'll be bringing it with fire and gasoline. Mike, and I'm not this next game or this next series, I'm not throwing gasoline on you on this one. You might need Vaseline after the Bucks get done with the Heat, but I said this we were talking about it yesterday before the game started. Milwaukee couldn't hit a bull in the ass with a bucket full of wheat and still beat Miami. And I was worried for you as being a Heat fan, and and I told you I was a Bucks fan. I grew up watching Milwaukee back in the 70s with a center named Lou Alcindor. So them and the Pistons. And when he got traded, that's when I became a Pistons fan. But anyways, the Bucks, granted they shot lights out, but the Heat are in trouble, man. I don't think they're going to be able to pull this series out.
So, well, I can almost agree with you. 2-0, with the team that we have, our team is built to steal a game on the road and then play well the rest of the series. We didn't do that. Mm-hmm. Like if we had superstars, we'd be okay down 2-0. Jimmy Butler has always been an overachiever. Since he came into the league, he's really good, but he's not going to shoot lights out every night like other people can. Now, as for Milwaukee, I see a lot of people riding off Game 2, and I want to make something clear. Brooklyn could sweep the Bucks. It's not unless if the Brooklyn Nets played a bit of defense. The Bucks relied on Bryn Forbes to go like 7 of 8 to start that game.
Side note on Bryn Forbes, I watched him. I broadcasted him when he was playing high school basketball here in the Lansing area. Him and Denzel Valentine were teammates. And they were good.
I like Bryn more than Denzel.
Well, Bryn, but I got to tell you, Mike, God bless Bryn Forbes and Denzel Valentine. If you would have told me when they were in high school that they would be making mega money in the NBA and Bryn Forbes shooting the lights out, I'd have said, you're crazy. They have elevated their games, and I give Tom Izzo so much credit for those two. Bryn started out at Cleveland State, then went to Michigan State. Sorry I digress, but I was hoping you'd bring that up because I watched them in high school, and they were good. They were very good. They had a loaded team. They had 5 Division I players on that team for a Class B school. You know, it was fun to watch. But, yeah, I agree with you in Milwaukee. If they play the Nets, it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out series. My thing with Miami, Mike, and I might totally be way off base on this, is how is Jimmy Butler going to act under a little bit of adversity? You know, because he's always kind of, I still look at him as a wrecker of 2 franchises. So
right.
But
one thing about Miami is I know the culture thing is kind of overplayed.
Okay.
But they people come there and like Hassan Whiteside was acting a fool. We refused to play him when he was our second best player in the playoffs, and then dumped him. So Miami, if Jimmy Butler does act up, I wish he would.
Yeah.
And Lou, by the way, for those that are listening live and not to the replay, the guy shooting free throws for the Celtics is Luke freaking Cornett. That's how bad this game is.
Oh my. My parlay is shot tonight. Oh well.
Wait.
I had Boston plus 18.5. I took an alternate line.
I might have had the under of 227.
Oh boy.
Don't hit this. Thank God. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's all fun. It's the fun. I'm having a blast talking to you, Mike. This is great. I want to talk about Atlanta and the Knicks. You know, Atlanta's right by your neck of the woods. Good run for them this year, playing a Knicks team evenly matched. Got to love Trae Young, what he did to the Knicks crowd the other night.
I think the Hawks are going to win that series in 5 or 6.
Okay. Wouldn't surprise me.
Now, the Knicks, I think Tom Thibodeau has done a good job of making them, play hard.
Mm-hmm.
But Julius Randle, I was not surprised he got shut down because they only have, John Collins and Clint Capella to guard him. So I'm not surprised he got shut down.
Yeah.
And then you got Trae Young, Bogdanovich, and Lou Williams scored 13. So he's back. Yeah.
Well, and then finally the last series, you touched on it, Philadelphia and Washington. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and, the guy that Detroit used to have, the point guard. Oh, help me out here. Oh, for God's sakes. He had 34 points, Philly. Oh, Detroit had him and traded him back to the Clippers for stinking Blake Griffin. Oh.
Almost. Derrick Rose.
No. God almighty. Oh, he had 34 for Philadelphia the other night. I always forget his name. Tobias Harris. There you go. I'll tell you what, Tobias Harris to me is he's the glue for those two birds, man, for Embiid and Simmons. I've always been a Tobias fan.
Oh yeah, well he'll go and get you 15 to 25 every night, and he won't complain about not being number one guy.
Yeah, and I think
but biggest thing for Embiid is foul trouble. Every single game, if he stays out of foul trouble, he could dominate a game. Yeah,
so I tell you, the talent is kind of shifting a little bit to the Eastern Conference, a little anyways. We got Brooklyn and Milwaukee and Philly. They can't be taken lightly, so they're going to beat each other up. So that's going to be fun to watch. Mike, in a few minutes we got left, I got a couple of football questions. Obviously, you know what's going on in your neck of the woods. Julio Jones, he went on with Shannon Sharp, staged or not. And first of all, he doesn't want to play for the Cowboys. But, I mean, how soon after June 1st do you see Julio Jones getting traded?
Pretty soon, because from what I've read, granted, Adam Schefter lost a lot of respect from me. But the Falcons apparently have been trying to trade him ever since he asked for it. Because I guess now all of a sudden they're a world-class organization, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
But I do believe that the Falcons are going to trade him pretty soon. It doesn't matter if he wants to pay that money. The dude does not score touchdowns. I've said he's allergic to anything inside the 10-yard line. And for a guy being that big, it's impossible to not score touchdowns.
Right.
Because usually you're a red zone threat, if anything, and he's neither. So I don't – but who's going to give up a first round and a big name player, and they might have something, but it's all up to the other team.
I think I can't see them getting a first-round draft pick for him. I just
A second rounder, maybe a good offensive lineman because they need that.
Oh yeah, no, I could see that, but I just don't see anybody ponying up that kind of loot for him. And the last one, I was talking about this earlier tonight, Mike. I in the first hour of the show, I talked about 3 quarterbacks that, you know, their get out of jail free card is gone. There's no more excuses. Sam Darnold, Matt Stafford, and a guy that's going to be near and dear to your heart this year, Carson Wentz. Give me your, Carson, he had his differences with the coaching staff in Philly, a little bit of injuries, but he had his chances. He's going to a team, in my opinion, Mike, that they've got a shot at winning that division, no doubt about it, and making a little bit of a playoff run. I think the pressure's on Carson Wentz to put up or shut up. No more excuses.
I think I have all the confidence because I think Carson Wentz, under a competent head coach, is going to be fine.
Yeah.
But I do agree. Sam Darnold, I mean, granted, I blamed Adam Gase. Look, the snake has a hood on and he's interviewing. But I was going to say that I completely agree with Matt Stafford because the Rams are going to be stacked. And, of course, the Colts are going to – they have an incredible roster. And then you look at Sam Darnold, his thing was Adam Gase. So I guess I would say maybe give him a year, but I do agree mostly that all 3 of those guys that's going to be fun.
Well, my thing with Sam Darnold is mainly, maybe it's because because I'm forced to listen to Colin Cowherd while I'm driving my work truck. And he's got such a man crush on Sam Darnold. He thinks he's great. He just is all over it. And it's like, I watched Sam Darnold, Mike, his last year at USC, and he underwhelmed, I thought. I mean, he made, in the big games, he underperformed. And he got drafted high by the Jets. And granted, he had mono and he got hurt, and Adam Gase is, not exactly a career resurrector, but I don't think Sam Darnold is that great. And I just think that he's going to have to, there's no more excuses for him either. Okay, maybe a year we'll give him, but we'll see. I don't know. I've just never been a Sam fan.
So I think Zach Wilson is out of college. I think Zach, because I watch a lot of every single throw they make, and I think Zach is a better quarterback out of college. I do think that.
Okay.
Although I like Sam, I think he was better than Josh Rosen. That looks pretty good right now.
Yeah.
And that was actually a big debate, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
But Sam, so offensive line was terrible at USC, and his receivers dropped passes. I don't think he's ever going to be great, but I think Sam could be good. I'll put it this way. He'll be better than what he's doing with the Jets. I firmly believe that.
Okay. Well, I do too. Yeah, he's got some weapons.
But I don't know how far I can go. Is he a Super Bowl winning quarterback with the Panthers? No.
No.
But is he a guy who can get you to the playoffs possibly, or like an 10-7 records? Sure. Because we don't know how the Falcons and the Saints are going to look.
Right. Nope, you're right.
So I mean, Panthers and being the 7th team, for crying in the sink.
Yeah. Well, it's possible. It's possible. I don't know. Mike, what do you got?
The coach is good too.
Oh yeah, he is, and that helps. You're right. That could bring him along a lot more smoother. And hey, I'll be the first one to admit that I'm wrong. Just like I'm going to be the first one to admit I'm wrong if the Lakers and LeBron win another championship this year. I'll come on your show and bow down to you for that. Mike,
don't do all that. But wear a LeBron jersey or something.
All right, fair enough. I will do that. Mike, what do you got coming on your show tomorrow?
So tomorrow I'm basically going to go just talk about extra stuff about the Brooklyn Nets and how I'm scared this might be the Warriors and that they just might be unbeatable. I'm also going to talk about Julio Jones and if my Colts would take him. No, by the way. Sneak peek.
There you go.
And I just talk a few things, but I only have a 30-minute show, so I can just jam pack a bunch of energy into a little bit of time.
All right.
But I will definitely talk NBA playoffs. And who knows? Maybe the Lakers get blown out with the Suns tonight, and I have to go cry on tomorrow's show.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you coming on tonight. This has been an absolute treat. It's always fun having you on. We'll get you on again maybe around the finals, and we can talk about whoever's made it. Hey, good luck with your show tomorrow. Keep up the great work. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Can I have an announcement on your show, by the way?
Absolutely. Bring it.
So, everybody knows I interviewed Barry McCockiner, right?
Yep.
So we've agreed in turn, or like not really agreed officially, but he has agreed to come on the show before the NFL season officially starts again.
Awesome. That'll be fun.
So maybe we can have him on a second time.
That'll
And I
work.
can have you on too.
I would love it. Mike, thanks as always. Take care, man. We'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Mike Caravellis, you hear him as Mike said it first on every Wednesday afternoon, 12:30 Eastern time. The second half of the dynamic duo on Wednesday, right after Philly Pete gives you the lowdown on who you should pick tomorrow night for the NHL playoffs. Quick updates on the score. I think Mike touched on it in the NBA as we take a peek. 130-108. Nets over the Celtics. Nets leave that 2 games to none. Not surprised at all on that. And the Maple Leafs with 6.5 minutes to go, up comfortably on the Canadiens, 3-0. Spezza and Thornton got goals in the second along with Nylander, and they've got a cushion now on the Canadiens. And with about $1:19 to go in the second period, it looked like it was tied, but the Hurricanes must have got that second goal disallowed. The Preds still up on the Hurricane, 2-1. Series all tied up at 2. The Preds could go up 3-2. Wouldn't that be something? Well, that's going to do it here tonight. We're going to call it a show. We want to thank Marcus Grosnick for joining us, the new voice of the Chicago Cougars of the USPHL, and also one of our hockey insiders and also a golf insider. Great conversation about the PGA Championship and what's going on with them. And, of course, Mike Carvallis. Mike said it first. Catch him Wednesdays, 12:30 Eastern Time here on the 12-Ounce Sports Network. And he was kind enough to come in and talk a little NBA basketball. Well, that's going to do it. We'll see you next Tuesday. We want to thank you for joining us as well here on the show. Captain Lou saying, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Talk to you next week here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza Live, here on the 12-Ounce Sports Platform and Networks, and Zingo TV.